Hi. Uh, how is everyone? Berlin is so cold right now, and everyone's talking about how cold it is and how it is not being this cold for the last 15 years. And I hear things like that. For me, I really enjoy this winter. I don't know why. For me, like for example, like the 2 winters ago was horrible because maybe it wasn't that cold, but it wasn't sunny at all. It was always foggy and dark, and I prefer colder and sunnier winters. So I really enjoy this winter. I'm not gonna say that I like, for example, I think I also did it on purpose. Like I worked consciously to not to hate it, because in November I really like felt excited about like having winter, and I focused on what the nice things that winter brings and nice activities that you can do, like nice blankets, making cacao, having like a new vegetables and fruits coming in season, and like having nice movie nights with friends, because there are also certain activities that fit the winter very nice. And when you focus on these things, it becomes very nice. And then December, I think we all agree that everyone is like um some events like Christmas gatherings, and then like Christmas parties, Christmas markets, and somehow I think everyone kinda enjoys, and it's the beginning of winter, so no one is very frustrated yet. And January, I skipped the Turkey, so I skipped winter in Berlin. And February is the time, I think, where everyone starts getting a bit exhausted about winter, me included. I realized actually, like, because in my mind, I was in Turkey for a very long time, like 1 month. And then when I was back, I was expecting some spring coming back in here. Somehow my brain thought it to happen like that. But of course, it wasn't spring here. And it was just, it felt like, oh, okay, you're right in the middle of the winter. Spring is not near at all. And then when you're being in like a warmer place, and when you come back to Berlin, it is harder. You need to adjust it, and then my psyche needed to go through adjusting process. And finally, after I think it's been maybe like 3 weeks or something like that since I'm back, or maybe a month. I'm not, no, 3 weeks. And finally, I feel like, okay, I'm back in Berlin. I'm back in my routines. I feel adjusted, and I started to enjoy it again, because last week was so fucking cold, like 8 degrees and everything. And when I went for a walk with my dog this morning, it was 1 degree, and I immediately felt, okay, it's not that cold. And I actually really enjoyed it. And I even got a coffee on my walk, which usually I don't, because it's so cold to not have your hand in your jacket. But this time I could do it. Usually I get coffee after my walk when I'm back at home, and I make it like, also my dog walks so fast, so it's not very pleasant to have a coffee in hand while walking. Anyways, uh, why am I saying this? I don't know. I have some things that I in my mind that I might speak today. Let's see, but this was my opening, I guess. Um, yeah, and in February right now, well, like I had something in my mind that I was why I talked about this. Oh, okay, yeah, I was talking about yesterday. So yesterday also like is one of the days where I'm like dreading to going for an evening walk, because I also have a physical theater class at 7 p.m. and then I have to like go for a walk before that. So it's cold. It's not nice outside. And then I'm like, oh, I don't want to go for a walk. And then I don't want to commute to the physical theater, because usually it is only one transfer. Like I can just take U-Bahn and go there. However, U-Bahn was not working. So I would have to also take another U-Bahn and then take S-Bahn and then get there like that. So I was like dreading so much. However, I took my dog for a walk, very short one, and then I came back home, and then I was like really, really dreading. Like, I don't want to leave. I just want, and before that, I was napping. And then I was like, oh, I just want to continue my nap, just like lie down with my dog, cuddle with my dog. It's like Friday evening. I feel so tired from the week. I just don't want to go. But I knew that if I did go, I would feel way better. And of course, I did go because also this is the first week the classes started. So there is no way that I would skip it. Um, and then I did go. And of course, I enjoyed it a lot. And I think it is also helpful for my brain to make this experience. Like, you have this thing that you are dreading to do, and then you still do it, and then you feel very good afterwards. And I think I'm teaching myself to, and then like probably I will have some weeks that I will also feel dreading, but it will stop after some point. I think it happens like this with exercise as well, because when you first start after a long break, let's say you didn't exercise for a while and you're getting back into exercising, and then you don't enjoy it because you don't feel that good. It feels hard and you don't see the benefits. But once you do it and do it and do it, you start seeing the benefits, and it's not that hard to go afterwards. And it becomes like a habit, like a brushing your teeth. You don't even question it. You just do it. And I think it's gonna become like this with physical theater as well. Right now, it feels like unknown, especially like not having the usual public transport not working, and just like I need to take this and take that, and um yeah, but I think I'm getting there, that it is gonna be something like, okay, yes, it's time to go to the physical theater, even though I love it. Like, also, it is not new in a way that like I did it before. Last year, the same collective, they were having drop-in classes, so I was going to the drop-in classes. However, this year they made it a performance project, meaning that there is going to be 4 months of school, 6 hours per week, and it's evening classes, so I can also go after my job. And it is not a drop-in class, so you need to pay upfront for like monthly, and then you need to continue like until May, end of May. And then the good thing is that with drop-in classes, there is always like different people. Yes, there are some familiar faces, but you usually see the same people, no, the like different people, and you're not building up on. Of course, like the more you go, like the more you get used to the world of physical theater, like and everything. So it's not nothing. However, I'm really craving, especially in a world of such things like urban sports club, which I really enjoyed when I first moved to Berlin, because it is very cost effective, meaning that you pay a monthly fee like 60 euro, and then you get to use almost all the studios, um gyms, like dance classes, meditation classes, sound healing, blah blah, like all these kit and caboodle. You get to go all these studios in Berlin just by paying 60 euros. And it's fun because, oh, okay, I want to try this, I want to try that. And Berlin has billions of these studios, like very, very, like even like martial arts, like you can find anything, like literally anything. And then it makes sense. You're like, okay, I want to try everything. So I want to go all of that. But after like using Urban Sports Club for some very long years, I realized that I'm craving a place where you just like, there's no option. You just go to the place, you commit to the place, and then there are the same people coming. It's not like open to everyone outside. You have the same people. So you also develop some relationship, you get to know each other, and also you're building up something. Like, you start from zero and then you go to 10, and then you make even a performance in the end. And with Urban Sports Club, this is not possible. If you go to dance classes, it's always drop in. There are different people, and you're not building up on something, and of course you're also not preparing for a performance. But when you meet with the same people twice a week, like twice a week, and then you see the same faces, and then you work together, you're building up something, you're creating a relationship, and you're creating something together. And I think that even though it is way more expensive this way, I really prefer it to happen this way, at least this time of my life. This is what I'm craving. And I think I'm at a place that I would really appreciate this building up something, like preparing for a performance. That is also like another thing. Like, when you are preparing for a performance, you get to experience very, very different feelings, very different emotions. And that includes feeling together with other people, which is actually not very easy in nowadays to have such spaces. And I think today is kind of what I want to talk about this. So anyways, I went to the performance. I went to the training yesterday, and then we left. And then what happens to me each time after training, I feel so in my body. What does it mean? I feel like I'm feeling like fully in my body. My mind is very quiet, and I'm just in my body. I don't know how to explain this, but I think it is also like, you can call it this being aliveness, like feeling alive, and just feeling very good inside. Not in a way that like, okay, something happened and I heard some news and something amazing is gonna happen, so I'm feeling so excited. It's more like just feeling so content inside because you get to feel your body. And don't we have body all the time? Yes, we have our bodies with us all the time, but how much of the time in your day, when you think about it, actually you feel completely in your body? It is, I think, a feeling or like a state that, especially in the modern world, most of us don't get to experience. Um, we really don't experience this. Like, we are living in our heads, in our mind, and we forget even like how it feels to feel connected to yourself, feeling fully in your body, and not having your mind driving or like working like da 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 da. So I really appreciate this feeling. And each time, like, I'm not or exaggerating, each time, because I was also doing this last year, and I was one of the regular people who was doing the dropping every week. Um, I was experiencing this each time. When I would leave the class, I would just feel so content. I'm like walking home, not in a rush. Like, there is no rush. And the difference, like one of the other qualities of like feeling in your body, is that you don't feel in rush. And the rush feeling that I actually feel, like, usually, there is, even though there is no rush, there is this feeling of rushness because we are so used to feel this way. Um, and that feels amazing, actually, like feeling like there is no rush. And actually, when you force yourself to feel this way, it doesn't work. Like, when you tell yourself, like, there is no rush, I'm just gonna slow down, I'm just not gonna feel in rush, I don't think it works. I think it makes it more frustrated as well. So I appreciate when it comes naturally, that you're really feeling the truth, because the truth is that there is no rush. I don't believe there is rush in anything, except that, I don't know, when you are in an ambulance or like you're working in emergency room, these are the true rushes. But the rush about like sending an email or finishing a task or calling someone, or rush of like telling someone something, like, I don't think this is true. This is just like a not true. Anyways, so you get to feel this truth that there is no rush, and then you feel really like inside of your body, outside of your body, you feel like more connected. And then even just like a small gesture gives you joy, like um moving your hand, like, you feel the connection that your sit bones doing it to the place you're sitting, let it call an uban. And it's just like, you just like feel the joy. And I remember I used to feel like this all the time when I was a kid, especially like playing on the street and everything. I just didn't know that I was gonna lose that when I was a kid, you know? I really didn't know that. It was just, I didn't even question, or I didn't think about it like, oh wow, I feel joyful just being in my body, or like moving my body, like playing on the streets. Oh, how joyful it is. It was just um my default mood was like that when I was a kid, but I lost it at some point down the line. And I don't like that about being an adult. And because it seems like it happens to all of us. At some point, we forget how it feels to feel in your body, the truth of not rushing, the joy of moving your body, the joy of simple things, the joy of just walking, looking at a view. And I hate when people say these things, because I think I feel resentful that I don't get to feel this all the time, which I think it is my birthright to feel this way, you know? It's my birthright to feel just joy from simple things. But I'm curious, I'm thinking about like what happens to us that we lose the connection. We lose, like, there are, I think, many things, but so basically I had this like I wanted to tell about like what happened yesterday when I was in Uban when I left the training, and then I started to talk about the weather, and then now I'm coming to the end of this part, hopefully. But I also realized that I have this style that I open like one tab in the story, and then I talk about many other things until I close the first tab. But yeah, this is actually how my brain works, I think. I also work this way as well, like when I'm working. Anyhow, um, yeah, so I was feeling this way. I left the practice, and then two of other people from the practice, we were walking to the U-Bahn, and then we sat in the U-Bahn. There was like 6 minutes for U-Bahn to take off, and then we sat in the first wagon. And then there was because when you're also feeling like alive and open, you are more prone to sense all these stimulants around. Like you hear everything, you sense everything because you are very very open, and it's being opposite of numb. When you're numb, you don't feel things, you don't feel yourself, you don't feel the stimulants. But when you're open and when you're in your body, you're very very open to the things going around. Like that's why you feel more. And then there was this like drunk guy who had a speaker listening to, which is very very normal, this kind of things, like lots of junkies, people doing drugs in Uban, they're listening loud music, people puking in Uban, like lots of things like this. So there was this junkie like guy listening to a very loud music, and then someone sat beside me, next to me, and then he was like in so much stress, like he was like doing, I cannot show you right now, but like he was like shaking and like doing like very anxious moods. And in on the other end, I am in like open, I'm like alive, I feel good. And then it became immediately too much for my system. And then I told the people that from the training, it's too much for me right now. There are a lot of stimulants. And then they said, okay, let's switch to vegan. That we left the first vegan and we went to the second one. And then it was very nice, and we started to conversate. Like we are talking. Okay, so what do you do in your daily life? Like, how did you decide to come to the physical theater exercise and everything? And then there were like 3, 4 guys, very loud, like speaking super loud, and they are super drunk. And there is another guy who's speaking on the phone, like yelling almost, like fighting with someone. We are also speaking, but like we have such a low tone because we know that there are other people around us. So it is actually very annoying when people really disrespect your existence, because when you don't recognize the other people around, then you get to um be disrespectful, I guess. And so I was feel like when you also another thing, when you feel very open and like in your body, open and alive, you get to like, you don't want to suppress your emotions, you want to express them, you don't want to suppress them. So what happened to me is that I was actually not planning, but um I told the guys that I was sitting, like the people from the training, I said that, you know what, they are speaking very loud, they are like very very loud, and I have this strong impulse to stand up and yell at them as, shut up. And while I was telling it, I wasn't planning to do this, but when I was telling this to the people, I really stood up and I yelled at the people, shut up. And what happened at that point is that they actually didn't shut up. I mean, they did shut up for a while. Like there was this like quietness for a moment. No one spoke and everyone was looking at me. And then they started to yell even more. And I actually felt a bit scared. And then I said to the people from the class, I said, I wasn't actually planning to do this, but I'm feeling so open and so not suppressed, and my emotions are just there and they are flowing. So I just expressed what came, and they were like, "Okay, it's okay, we understand." It was actually very courageous, they said, and Yeah, and then I was like, "Okay, actually, you know what? In normal life, I feel very suppressed and I feel numb. Usually, like, I don't feel this open, like, not maybe super numb all the time, but there are moments that I feel very numb. It's like it's changing. Like, sometimes I feel very open, sometimes I feel in between, sometimes I feel very numb. And in Uban, usually I feel very numb because there are a lot of stimulants and there are a lot of people that I don't have any control over and very disrespectful and very crazy environment. I just close myself and I don't want to show my real emotions. And my real emotion is that feeling very annoyed and I want to shut this person up. And yeah, and then I had this like small reflection. Oh, okay, this is actually why I feel very numb and I don't do this. So what I'm trying to say actually here, of course, not that when you feel it, just go for it. I usually don't want to do it because I don't know what these people can do, you know, they can come and like walk up to me and there could be a fight and I don't want to do that. At the same time, I really find it disrespectful. And in the moments that I feel open and not closed and not suppressed, I just speak up, you know, I just say something, I just like yell back or I show my emotion. And the thing is, when I think about it, we are so suppressed because we are maybe scared or and like we don't show our annoyance, we don't show our anger. And especially when if you're a sensitive person and you're in the empath side, you are able to feel maybe compassion or like sadness or understanding to one another more easily. However, you sometimes and most of the time in such a society, you suppress your anger because it is not welcomed at all. Let it be in situations where you are confronted with strangers who are junkies and possibly like 90% of the time males, and as a woman it might be scared to confront a male. And this is also not only in cases where people are being loud or disrespectful, it's also in cases people are like catcalling or trying to verbally or physically harassing a woman. And in that case, um it is actually like it makes me feel so angry and usually I cannot suppress, but usually what we do is that we get scared and we suppress it. And then when you suppress it, you feel more numb and you feel the opposite of openness. And that's what we get used to it. Also, not only in like these extreme cases where you might be in danger, but also in society, maybe in meeting rooms or even in friendships. Like when you feel anger, you know that anger is not welcomed. The person doesn't like it, or you have this fear of that it won't like if you express your anger, the person won't be able to hold space for it and they will close down and close off, and then you hold it inside. However, I think it doesn't have to be like this. What I'm trying to say is that, of course, we don't have to yell at each other, but there are healthy ways of expressing anger. And it shouldn't be actually end of the world or end of a friendship. It shouldn't be this scary. We should be able to express anger. And then because after anger, what comes maybe is its closeness. Because it's what I'm trying to say also is that it's not normal to just like have very defined relationship where we only operate with certain emotions. Only certain emotions are welcomed. And that makes us not alive because a person, a human being gets to experience so many emotions, so many different range of emotions. And I think why I love physical theater or acting is that I get to express these emotions. These emotions are very welcomed, and there is something magical about expressing these emotions because also when you do it in a way of these classes, like what you see is that like it immediately changes when you like you're for example dancing in like an and then you're creating a story with your partner, and in that story there is anger, and then you're just dancing and in this story, let's say that a person is angry at you and then they are expressing the anger, and then you see your reaction. You get to see your reaction on the go while dancing, and then you also see how it's changing. After anger, it comes maybe laughter, and then after laughter, it changes so quickly to like crying and everything. And then you're like, oh my God, this is fucking feeling like human. And not only a space to experience these emotions that are usually are not welcome, or in relationships or in institutions, especially in institutions and in society, these emotions are not welcome. And sometimes, of course, like I think if you have really, really close friends or a partner, you experience, okay, like you get to express your anger in healthy way, and then you get to resolve things and you get to have a conflict and you get to feel closer afterwards. I am also afraid of like having conflicts with my friends. I don't want to. I find it very comfortable to be always understanding, always in agreement. However, I know to my bones that it is not on the way of becoming friends, and it is actually preventing us to come closer in some ways. And I find it very safe not to have conflicts with my friends. And also, I know that my friends are also like very sensitive usually, and we are prone to be very understanding with each other. And we usually don't do things that annoy each other because very understanding. But at the same time, I know that it is okay to sometimes annoy each other. It's okay not to be understanding all the time, because we all have times we go through hard things, and it's okay. I mean, I'm not okay with, of course, people who don't respect your boundaries, people who like really push your buttons. Or I'm not talking about this, but I'm also talking about that it is okay to experience these things, because we are human, we are alive, and things happen, and it's not always in the same linear rhythm of being understanding and kind to each other. This is very, very necessary. However, it might happen that sometimes there's a conflict. Sometimes you are not in a good mood and you say something, you're not conscious that you actually hurt the person, and the person gets to say that, hey, actually I was hurt there. And then I think these things really, really make people closer. Also, like maybe you might see them in the movies or TV shows, there is always like these things change, sometimes people getting closer, sometimes they are far away, and then the rhythms of the relationships always in change. And you know what? It is completely okay. It might seem scary, but it is really okay, because things in the end always are okay. They are not for a certain time, but in the end, they become okay. There is a conflict, it hurts, and then you get closer, and then there is this closeness, and then you get far away, and then you get to miss each other, and then you see each other, and then you appreciate each other more. So this is like more changing rhythm, and I think it, in my head at least, that I think this is what aliveness is: letting yourself change and not trying to suppress yourself or like push yourself to be in certain way, but trusting that all of you is okay, and in the end your relationships will be okay and your life will be okay. So the opposite of this is that you're afraid to hurt a person, you're afraid to feel certain emotions, you're afraid to experience some things, and then what you do is that you suppress, you hold yourself, you don't let yourself feel, and then in the end you become numb, certain way, in a box or in a rut. Nothing is changing because you're trying to control things to be in a certain way. You don't trust that actually life is beside you, life is trying to support you, but you're so afraid that something bad is gonna happen, you're gonna lose a person, very bad things are gonna happen and everything. And then what happens is the worse, because you're in a rut. You're not living, you're not feeling, you're not experiencing things. It's the same things every day. You don't enjoy your walks, you don't experience things, you're just not alive. And that fucking sucks. I think that's not why we are here. We are not here to deliver tasks, complete stuff and things. We are here to experience how it feels to be human, how it feels to have people, how it feels to have relationships, how it feels to change, how it feels to experience many, many different things, how it feels to feel your senses experience how it feels to see a beautiful thing, hear a song, feel it in your heart, let it impact you, let it affect you, and then let it change. Not be stuck in one certain state, but to go through different states of emotions, of life, of anything. And another thing I really appreciate, and I think why it makes me feel so alive and so in my body during physical theater, apart from this space of safely expressing my emotions, is that I get to play. And we don't play as an adult. It sucks because we don't know how to play. Maybe I'm not talking about everyone. There are, I think, people like who are playing, let it be with like a physical games or board games. And I think that also makes us feel really alive and like a kid again. Or like, I'm not gonna even say kid, because I think the difference between feeling like a kid again or not feeling like a kid is not that you grow up and you get more mature. I appreciate the maturity aspect of being human. I really love it. But maturity doesn't mean that you are not behaving like a kid again, like how we describe being a kid. I think maturity is that you know that nothing is urgent, being able to feel calm in certain situations, even though things are not going in ways that you expect, or things are going in ways that make you fear, but you still are able to be calm somehow, breathe through it, go through it, be grounded in the crazy experience. I think, or knowing that there is no one concrete truth to something, meaning that sometimes there is something happening and then you're like, okay, this person is bad, or like, okay, this situation is bad. And then knowing that no, there are many sides into the situations and things, except extreme situations where people have narcissistic behaviors. I'm not talking about that, but I'm just talking about like normal situations, normal people. Like normal meaning, not normal in a way that everyone is of course different, and I don't think there is like a one certain type of behavior that is normal, but I'm at least talking about like situations where people um, have maturity or sanity that they go through the world without giving big harms to people around them. So I think this is my definition of normal, but I wouldn't phrase it as normal. Anyhow, what was I saying? I forgot. Yeah, so the maturity is this. And then being like a kid again doesn't mean that you I think it just being alive. I don't think that being a kid is only way of being alive. I think, and I tell you firsthand that I experienced, this aliveness also exists. Like we can access that. I know it is so hard, and I have very few moments that I feel like this. And spoiler alert, recording a podcast somehow also makes me feel very connected to myself and feel alive. Um, so this is one thing for me, and another thing is acting. Physical theater is another thing that makes me feel very connected, but it is really hard, and I know that, and I don't think that it is the only way. Like being kid is not the only way, so you get to do this as an adult as well. And it is amazing. I really love this feeling. I really love this state. I think I really appreciate it. And I was gonna say that another thing is the play, because we get to play, and then you forget when you're playing, you're so in the moment. You don't think about other things. And then there are points in the play that you really like. I was, for example, at some point laughing so hard, like when you laugh, your stomach hurts. Like, please, right now, ask yourself, when was the last time when you were laughing so hard that you thought that you're gonna pee your pants, or like you're having a stomach ache, or you cannot breathe from laughing, without using alcohol or without using substances. So this is a space for me that I get to feel this kind of feeling, this laughter without like, and it makes me feel like, oh my God, when was the last time I was like, I would laugh like this in maybe like middle school with my friends, or high school, I don't know, like when I was a kid. But or I would do this kind of laughs when I would smoke weed with my friends, or like in university, or like when I think about these moments adult life, it always involves alcohol or something. And but when I go to the theater, like when I do this like acting practices and the plays, I see that, oh my God, it is actually possible to reach these states being an adult as well. So it doesn't mean that they were left on the childhood. It just means that we had more access, we had more spaces when we were kids or teenagers where we could experience these things. The reason we don't experience these states as an adult is not that something changes inherently in us that we can't get to experience. It just means that the structure of society, the systems, the way we live our lives don't allow us to get into those states. But what I want to tell you, what I want to tell everyone is that I know it is so hard, but there are spaces, there are tools that you can reach to the states. And I think when you are in such state, you are unstoppable. You don't feel anxiety. You don't feel the rush, the untrue rush. And then what happens is that you don't go through social media. You don't spend unnecessary money. And of course, I think I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I think society or like the people on the who control the society, who are like this big brothers, they don't want us to feel alive. Then they don't want us to feel connected to ourselves, because then when we do this, we don't contribute to capitalism or the system a lot, and then we are not this little sharks in the system that are contributing to the system, but we become human, we become alive, and then we realize that actually I have so much inside and I can produce so much things with other people who also feel like this, that I don't need to go outside and buy things. I don't need to go outside and consume. I don't need to binge 10 episodes of a show. I don't need to feel anxious and then as a result of anxiousness binge food or like do things that are not good for me. You know what I mean? So that is the thing that I think that I was thinking quite a lot in the past week, and that is the thing that I wanted to share with all of you. And I like to invite you to find spaces like this. For you, it doesn't have to be acting. For you, it could be like playing games with your friends, like having board games, or participating in group sports, running together with other people. I don't know. There are many, many spaces. I think everyone is individual. And what is, I think, hard is that, at least for me, was that at some point, like I always wanted to be an actress when I was a kid, but at some point I forgot this dream. I even forgot that I wanted this, and it came back to me maybe like 4 years ago uh, when I kind of new in Berlin, and I remembered this. Like it's so crazy that how I forgot it, but I remembered. Oh my God, I wanted to be an actress. I wanted to do this, and it was a childhood dream, and I wanted to try it. And then I realized, oh, this wasn't just like a childhood dream that uh, I was just seeing in TV and like just wanting to be seen. I really was like supposed to do this, and it was a calling rather. And then I fell in love with acting again, because I realized, oh my God, this is not about like being on screen or like being famous. It is about experiencing being alive, or at least like for my case, expressing emotions, having these safe spaces to experience being human and connecting with other people. Oh my God, this is actually amazing. And I was right when I was a kid. I knew it. And of course, when I was a kid, people would tell me that no, like it is not good, like you shouldn't do it. The industry is shit. In Turkey, you need to go to school, you need to go to university, study maths, whatever. But I got to connect with this dream, and I got to build even more trust in myself that, oh, actually, my intuition was on point when I was a kid. So I invite you to, maybe, like for me, this was very helpful, but I know it can be hard to try, because it also requires a lot of trying. Maybe you don't have any idea what it is for you that makes you feel alive. I would encourage you to try different things and really write what you did love when you were a kid. What were you saying and people thought you were crazy? What was that thing for you when you were a kid? For me, like I said, it was acting, and I'm so thankful to have the courage to pursue this again and find these type of spaces for myself and go for it. So again, I invite you to go back what you loved as a kid, what you were maybe even criticized for wanting or doing, or what was the thing that you felt so much joy that you forgot the time. You were so joyful, and yeah, you just felt very connected. So I'm very curious, and I would love to hear your stories as well, hear what this was for you and how you're trying, or what are these spaces that makes you feel so alive that you are not a consumer anymore, but you're a living and feeling and real human being. Yeah, please let me know. And I'm really happy to have this space as well, the podcast space, that I get to connect with you all. And maybe we see each other again soon. And I'm happy to be back. I had a huge break, maybe like a month or 1.5 months break from podcast. And last week I had this feeling that I really wanted to start recording again because, yeah. January for me was not a month where I felt very connected and grounded. It was a month where I had to travel a lot and change places a lot, and that makes it hard to feel grounded and alive. So I didn't have the desire to record a podcast, but now I feel recharged after giving a break, and I'm ready to record more regularly again. And this is the first podcast of 2026 as well. So welcome back to myself and welcome back to my listeners. And I wish you a great week ahead. See you later.